top that.
This week four-time Rio Olympic champion Simone Biles became the highest-profile athlete to state she was sexually abused by former USA Gymnastics team Dr. Larry Nassar. The 20-year-old is one of more than 140 women to have accused of the 54-year-old of abuse, and the latest gymnast after Ali Raisman, Michaela Maroney, Gabby Douglas, and what is the biggest scandal of its kind to happen in sport. Nassar, the former USA Gymnastics team doctor for about 2 decades, pleaded guilty in November to 7 counts of criminal sexual conduct in Ingham County in Michigan. As part of his plea deal, he admitted that he used his position as a trusted medical professional to sexually abuse young girls. He also pleaded guilty to 3 other criminal counts in Ingham County. And he has already been sentenced to 60 years in prison for child pornography charges. In August 2016, the Indianapolis Star published a story detailing allegations of sexual abuse committed by coaches working for USA Gymnastics. It claimed that the sporting body did not report allegations of abuse to relevant authorities. Tim Evans, one of the journalists working on the paper's ongoing investigation, told BBC Sport they first heard details of the abuse in March. "My colleague Marissa Kwiatkowski was looking at another case in basketball when it was suggested she look at gymnastics," he said. "When that initial story was published, we had 3 women call us and say that Dr. Nassar did things to them. They did not know each other and their stories were almost identical." The following month, former club gymnast Rachel Denhunter waived her right to anonymity and, in an interview with the Indy Star, detailed the abuse she allegedly suffered at the hands of Dr. Nassar. Speaking to BBC World Service's Sport Zoo program, Denhunter said Dr. Nassar allegedly sexually assaulted her during treatment for back and wrist injuries, despite her mother being in the room. Since the initial allegations, those who were treated by Nassar in Michigan and at USA Gymnastics have come forward. Raisman, Maroney and Douglas, members of the Fierce Five that won Team Gold in London 2012, have suggested that USA Gymnastics was to blame for turning a blind eye to Nassar's actions. Maroney, 22, sued the organization for what she believes was an attempt to buy her silence with the confidential settlement agreement in 2016. Douglas, 22, said we were conditioned to stay silent, and last week Raisman tweeted that USA Gymnastics allowed the abuse to thrive for decades, adding that it was 100% responsible. USA Gymnastics had told the BBC it severed ties with Dr. Nassar in 2015 when claims were brought to its attention. It denies that allegations of abuse were kept quiet in order to preserve the sport's reputation. The organization said it is proud of the work it has done to address and guard against child sexual abuse and passed evidence on to the FBI. The organization was also asked in 2016 whether its staff knew of Dr. Nassar's alleged misconduct during the period he was employed. It responded, "When USA Gymnastics learned of athlete concerns about Dr. Nassar, we immediately notified the FBI and relieved Nassar of any further assignments. Since then, we have cooperated with the FBI while the investigation has moved forward. Our support has and continues to include refraining from making further public statements or taking any other action that might interfere with the investigation. We are grateful to the athletes for coming forward to share their concerns." In response to the latest suggestion by Biles that it was guilty of allowing the abuse to occur, it said, "USA Gymnastics is absolutely heartbroken, sorry and angry that Simone Biles or any of our athletes have been harmed by the horrific acts of Larry Nassar. USA Gymnastics support is unwavering for Simone and all athletes who courageously came forward to share their experiences. We are our athletes' advocates. USA Gymnastics will continue to listen to our athletes and our members in our efforts of creating a culture of empowerment with a relentless focus on athlete safety every single day." Nassar was a member of the USA Gymnastics medical staff from 1986 and team doctor for the women's team from 1996. He left the Indianapolis-based organization in 2015. He also worked with gymnasts at Michigan State University and has a website selling DVDs of rehabilitation programs for injured gymnasts. He was initially arrested and charged on 21st of November, 2016 for alleged criminal sexual conduct against a child, who was neither a gymnast nor a patient. The abuse was alleged to have taken place at his Michigan home. The last Tuesday, Nassar attended a hearing in Lansing, Michigan, where the first of many victim testimonies was heard before his sentencing for 7 sexual assault charges. A former babysitter, Kyle Stevens, was the first to give her testimony and recalled, in graphic detail, her own ordeal. Kyle Stevens said she had her first sexual experience when she was 6 years old. Larry Nassar, a family friend, exposed himself to her in a dark boiler room. From then until she was 12 years old, he would pleasure himself in front of her, rub his penis on her bare feet and put his finger in her vagina. At 12, she told her parents about the abuse, but they didn't believe her. The abuse, and their denial, left her feeling brainwashed, caused a split in her family relationship and led to crippling anxiety, she said. Stevens defiantly stared down Nassar in a Michigan courtroom to inform him that the abuse was over, and his time as a free man was up.
You convinced my parents that you didn't stick your fingers in my adolescent vagina. But I knew when it was time to use my first tampon, not to worry, because my hymen wasn't intact. You used my body for 6 years for your own sexual gratification. That is unforgivable. Without my knowledge or consent, I had engaged in my first sexual experience by kindergarten. I've been coming for you for a long time. I've told counselors your name in hopes that they would report you. I have reported you to Child Protective Services twice. I gave a testament to get your medical license revoked. You were first arrested on my charges. And now, as the only non-medical victim to come forward, I testified to let the world know that you are a repulsive liar. Larry Nassar wedged himself between myself and my family and used his leverage as my parents' trusted friend to pry us apart until we fractured. And fracture we did. My relationship with my mother is still marbled with pain, anger, and resentment. And for a long time, I told people that I did not have a family. I was 12 years old when I told my parents, when Larry rubs my feet, he uses his penis. My parents confronted him and he denied any such action. Due to complex details that I won't get into here, my parents chose to believe Larry Nassar over me. His belief that I had lied seeped into the foundation of our relationship. Every time we got into a fight, he would tell me, "You need to apologize to Larry." Larry Nassar's actions had already caused me significant anguish, but I hurt worse as I watched my father realize what he had put me through. My father and I did our best to patch up our tattered relationship before he committed suicide in 2016. Perhaps you have figured it out by now, but little girls don't stay little forever. They grow into strong women that return to destroy your world.
On the witness stand, Nassar kept his head down and his eyes closed, and covered his face with his hands for much of the proceedings. He occasionally used a tissue to wipe away tears. Many of the victims first came into contact with Nassar to receive treatment for injuries, particularly from gymnastics or other sports. They were young and naive, the women said. He was a medical professional, and a widely revered one at that, and he used that to his advantage. Thomas Brennan, former gymnastics coach, accompanied Gwen Anderson as she spoke. Afterwards, the judge asked he had anything to say to Larry Nassar. He responded,
"Thank you very much for being
For the
here.
record, go to hell.
Anything else you'd like to say?"
I graduated from grad school. He was an advisor of mine. He's been a mentor of mine. I've done clinics with him for years in the past, and I've probably sent well over 100 kids to him over the years. So the guilt I feel for that is hard to fathom. So he didn't only deceive these girls, which is, honest to God, that's the worst of the worst, is what he does to these girls. So they have the voice. But what you did to everybody else who trusted you and sent girls your way is disgusting.
For more latest news and events, please subscribe and leave a comment.